The camera glides over the morning mist that hugs the green fields of Yorkshire. A golden sunrise spills across the stone walls of Downton Abbey, proud, timeless, and still. A voice speaks softly, steady and warm. Some homes are made of brick and stone, but others are built with memories. For years, this house has kept our secrets, our laughter, our tears, and now it's time to say goodbye. The music swells gently, a blend of strings and piano that feels both nostalgic and hopeful. Slow crossfades show glimpses of Lady Mary walking down the grand staircase, Mr. Carson standing in quiet reflection, and the Dowager Countess smiling faintly in the candlelight. The tone is serene, respectful, and emotional, the beginning of an ending. Downton Abbey was never just a television show. It was an era reborn, a bridge between the old world and the new. From the very first note of its opening theme, it carried viewers into a world of grace, duty, and quiet rebellion. Every corner of the grand estate whispered stories of love and loss, loyalty and ambition, tradition and change. Through 6 remarkable seasons, the Crawley family and their devoted staff became part of our own families. We watched as they celebrated triumphs, faced heartbreaks, and navigated the shifting tides of history, from the sinking of the Titanic to the roar of the modern age. Each episode unfolded like a chapter from a living novel, carefully crafted by Julian Fellows, who reminded us that the heart of every great story beats within its people. The show gave us more than elegant costumes and ballroom dances. It gave us the raw truth of human nature, that kindness can exist in the shadow of privilege, that honor can come from any class, and that even the grandest walls cannot protect a family from change. It painted a portrait of a world where every servant, every noble, every fleeting glance carried meaning. Downton Abbey became a cultural treasure, crossing oceans and generations. Viewers from every corner of the world found comfort in its quiet strength, its humor, and its deep humanity. The Dowager Countess taught us wit can be as sharp as it is wise. Mr. Carson reminded us that duty can be love in disguise, and Lady Mary showed that courage sometimes hides behind cold eyes and steady grace. As years passed, the show's beauty only deepened. Each episode was a reminder that even in stillness, life changes subtly, inevitably. Downton Abbey mirrored our own journeys, the desire to hold on to what we love, even as the world moves forward. And now, as we stand on the threshold of its final chapter, one truth remains: Downton Abbey will not fade. It will live on in our hearts, in the echoes of laughter down its halls, and in every tear that falls when the credits roll. The voice fades.
Yeah?
The camera rises above the estate once more. The sunlight grows stronger. A title appears: Downton Abbey. The grand finale, only on NBC. They say a house is only as alive as the people within it. And Downton Abbey has never been quiet. Its walls have heard every whisper of hope, every cry of heartbreak, and every promise made in silence. At the center of it all stood Lady Mary Crawley, fierce, poised, and yet deeply human. Behind her proud eyes was a woman constantly fighting the tides of change. She was born into a world built on manners and titles, yet she learned to survive in one ruled by will and wit. Her story wasn't about wealth or power. It was about finding strength in vulnerability, learning to lead when all else had fallen apart. Then there was the Dowager Countess, sharp as a sword, wise as time itself. Her words could cut through arrogance, yet heal a broken heart in the same breath. She taught us that age does not fade relevance, it refines it. Every glance, every quip from her lips carried the weight of generations. And perhaps in her final smile, we saw our own grandmother, stubborn, loving, unforgettable. Downstairs, where the chandeliers gave way to the steady hum of duty, loyalty was born. Mr. Carson, the butler with a spine of iron and a heart of gold, carried the soul of Downton in his every step. To him, the Abbey was not just an estate. It was home, family, and honor bound in one. When he bowed, he didn't serve, he belonged. Beside him stood Mrs. Hughes, the quiet strength behind every storm. Her kindness was not loud. It was steady, the kind that made you believe that love can exist in the smallest gestures: a cup of tea, a word of comfort, a knowing glance. And let us not forget Anna and Bates, their love story stitched with pain and patience, proof that devotion endures even when the world turns cruel. Through every trial, they showed us that love doesn't need perfection, it needs persistence. Every character at Downton, from kitchen maid to countess, carried a piece of truth. Each of them was a mirror to us, proud and flawed, hopeful and afraid, graceful even when falling. As seasons passed, we grew with them, we mourned with them. We celebrated as their world shifted from candlelight to electricity, from carriages to motor cars. And through it all, Downton Abbey reminded us that progress is not just invention, it is the courage to move forward, to let go, to love again. Now, as the final chapter draws near, the voices of Downton still echo in laughter, in tears, in music that swells like memory itself. Because long after the curtain falls, these people, these hearts, will never truly leave us. The camera glides through the great hall, pausing on the family portraits. The light dims, then flickers back, softer, warmer, almost alive. At Downton, every goodbye is just another way of saying we were here. Fade out to silence. Behind every grand story lies an even grander truth. It is not the walls, nor the costumes that give life to a world. It is the people who breathe between the lines. When the cameras stopped rolling and the grand halls of Downton fell silent, another kind of story began, one that belonged not to the Crawleys, but to those who created them. Julian Fellowes, the mind and heart behind Downton Abbey, once described the series as a love letter to a time slipping away. And perhaps that's what made every scene so delicate, a careful weaving of history and heart. Each script page was not just dialogue, it was devotion. From the first line spoken by the Dowager Countess to the last curtain call, the cast carried that devotion like a shared secret. On set, between takes, laughter echoed louder than the lines themselves. Hugh Bonneville, who gave Robert Crawley his noble warmth, often shared quiet jokes with Michelle Dockery, whose sharp eyes hid both grief and grace. They weren't just actors, they were a family in corsets and tailcoats, building a world that felt more real than make-believe. Downstairs, the camaraderie was just as strong. Jim Carter, forever Mr. Carson, was known to stay in character even after cut was called, his booming voice filling the set like a gentle command. Phyllis Logan, Mrs. Hughes's, brought balance to every moment, grounding the crew with her calm humor and maternal care. The crew often said that while Downton was fiction, the friendships it built were not. There were tearful goodbyes when filming the final scenes. Camera operators wiped their eyes behind the lens. The costume team stood still as actors walked out of the Great Hall one last time. For a moment, everyone forgot they were filming. It felt like they were leaving home. In interviews, the cast often struggled to find words. They spoke of gratitude, of the strange emptiness that comes when you close a chapter that shaped you. Michelle Dockery called it bittersweet magic. Laura Carmichael described it as the end of something beautiful, but not the end of us. Even the Abbey itself, Highclere Castle, seemed to understand. Its corridors, worn by years of footsteps and dialogue, stood in quiet respect. The lights dimmed one last time, and the crew shared a final toast. No applause, no spectacle, just the sound of belonging. Behind the scenes, Downton Abbey wasn't simply produced, it was lived. It was a family of storytellers who reminded the world that elegance is not just about gowns and gowns, it's about grace, even when no one is watching. As the narrator's voice softens, we see a final behind-the-scenes moment, the cast gathered in the Great Hall, smiling through tears. The camera pans slowly across their faces, capturing one last shared glance, the kind that says thank you without words. Every role played, every tear shed, every laugh shared, they were never acting. They're remembering what it means to be human. Fade out. Even the grandest story must find its quiet end. But at Downton Abbey, endings are never final. They are simply softer beginnings, whispered beneath the ticking of time. The final chapter begins not with fireworks, but with peace. The sun lingers over the estate longer than usual, as if even nature refuses to let go. The golden light touches the stone walls, the same ones that have seen love bloom and dreams crumble. Inside, every corner feels alive. Portraits watching, chandeliers shimmering, footsteps echoing like memories returning home. Lady Mary stands by the window, reflection blending with the view outside. For the first time, she does not look to the future with fear, but with acceptance. The years have taught her that strength is not in control, it's in letting life unfold. She turns, smiling faintly, her eyes soft with both pride and sorrow. It is a look only someone who has lived through every season of change can wear. Downstairs, laughter rises. Mrs. Patmore scolds Daisy for sneaking a bite of cake before the guests arrive. Mr. Carson watches, leaning on his cane, the corners of his lips trembling between dignity and joy. This isn't just another day at Downton, it's the last one. Yet somehow, it feels eternal. The music swells, familiar, tender, filled WI. Ive's story of Downton Abbey didn't end when the final credits rolled. It continued quietly, powerfully in the hearts of those who watched it. Across continents and languages, the Abbey became more than a place on screen. It became a feeling of belonging, of nostalgia, of believing that decency and kindness can still win in a changing world. For some, it was Sunday night comfort, a ritual of tea and tears shared with loved ones. For others, it was a doorway into history, a time they had never lived but somehow remembered. Fans wrote letters, painted portraits, traveled to Highclere Castle, just to touch the walls that had held their dreams. They found themselves in the whispers of the servants, in the courage of the Crawleys, in the laughter that filled those echoing halls. Around the world, watch parties turned into reunions. Grandmothers and granddaughters sat together, bridging generations through one story. In living rooms from New York to Tokyo, tears fell during the same moments. Smiles appeared at the same lines. It wasn't just television. It was shared humanity. Downton Abbey taught millions that elegance is not about wealth, it's about grace under pressure. It showed that love can exist across class, across pride, across time. It gave voice to the idea that tradition and progress need not be enemies, but dance partners in the waltz of life. Online. Fans filled forums and timelines with memories. Some shared how the show gave them courage to face their own endings. A lost parent, a broken dream, a long goodbye. Others found hope in its message that life moves forward, always, even when it hurts. Every fan carried a piece of Downton with them, a quote, a melody. A moment that stayed long after the screen went dark. And as NBC celebrated this grand finale, wasn't just a goodbye, it was a thank you. A thank you to the millions who believed in this world. A thank you to the hearts that made Downton not just a drama, but a mirror of what we all wish to be: brave, kind, imperfect, and human. The visuals fade between fan letters, candlelight vigils outside Highclere, in clips of people watching from their homes, smiling, crying, remembering. The narrator's voice grows tender, almost a whisper. We built this story together. You watched, you cared, you loved, and that made all the difference. The music swells again, familiar yet reborn. As the Downton theme plays softly beneath the voiceover, the scene closes with a slow zoom out. From a fan's living room TV, to a street glowing with city lights, to the world itself turning under a golden sunset. Because wherever we are, Downton Abbey still finds a home. The Abbey stands, not just in England's hills, but in every heart that remembers. Fade to black. ERY story that ends leaves behind an echo, and sometimes that echo becomes the beginning of something new. Downton Abbey's tale may have reached its final page, but its spirit lingers like the last light of day. Golden, gentle, unforgettable. As the candles burn low and the music softens, we return to the Great Hall once more. The Crawleys are gathered together, faces illuminated by the soft glow of chandeliers. Laughter drifts upward, mingling with the hum of nostalgia. For one last time, glasses are raised. To family, to love, to tomorrow. The words hang in the air, fragile yet powerful. In that moment, time seems to pause, as if Downton itself is listening. The Abbey has seen empires rise and fade, fashions change and seasons turn. Yet beneath its marble floors and velvet halls, one truth has endured. Life always finds a way forward. Cut 2 scenes of each character moving into their own tomorrows. Mary walking across the gardens, her son at her side. Edith, pen in hand, writing her own future. Carson and Mrs. Hughes strolling through the village, content and quiet. Life goes on, not in grand gestures, but in the small, precious moments that matter most and beyond fiction. We see the real future too, new generations discovering the show for the first time. A young viewer pressing play on episode 1, unaware of the emotional journey awaiting them. A family watching together, their laughter echoing across decades. Downton's magic continues, invisible yet eternal. The narrator's voice returns, calm, reverent, filled with warmth. Stories like Downton Abbey remind us that beauty doesn't fade. It transforms. That endings, when written with love, don't close the door. They leave it slightly open. For the light to slip through, as the music rises, images blend, the old and the new. Past and present, the Abbey standing strong against a glowing sky. We sense it's no longer a symbol of privilege, but of continuity, of endurance, of shared humanity. The scene slows. The camera glides upward through the open window of the Great Hall, into the sky painted in shades of rose and gold. The estate grows smaller, but the emotion only deepens. And so, we raise our glass, not to what was lost, but to what remains. To the love that built Downton, and the future that will carry it on. Soft piano chord lingers. The screen fades to white dot. Then, in elegant letters, Downton Abbey, the grand finale, a legacy forever. The final note hangs in the air like a sigh not of sadness, but of peace. Because some stories never end. They simply rest, waiting to be felt again. There is a silence that follows every great story, not empty, but full. It hums softly, like the last note of a symphony still trembling in the air. That is the silence Downton Abbey leaves behind, one not of absence, but of presence so strong. It lingers long after the lights go out. The camera glides through the great hall one final time. The chandeliers shimmer faintly, the curtains sway gently, as if waving goodbye. Every room feels alive with memories, laughter echoing from unseen corners, footsteps fading down endless corridors. The Abbey doesn't look empty. It looks eternal. The narrator's voice returns, tender, almost whispering to the audience directly. For years, we watched this family grow, stumble, and find their way just as we do. We saw love survive war, grief turn to grace, and time weave its gentle hand across generations. Downton Abbey was never just a home. It was a reflection of us all. Images flow softly across the screen. The first dinner, the weddings, the farewells. The piano melody of the theme returns, slower now, more fragile, as if aware this is its final song. Then, a shift from the estate to the people beyond it. Viewers smiling in living rooms, fans gathered at Highclere Castle, letters held in trembling hands. The voice continues. To everyone who opened their hearts to this story, thank you. You kept these halls alive. You carried these characters beyond the screen. You made Downton Abbey a place that will never fade. The visuals dissolve into a soft golden glow, the horizon of the estate bathed in the first light of morning. The same sunrise that began it all. A full circle. The curtain may fall, but the story remains in every heart that remembers. In every tear that falls, in every moment of quiet courage that life demands of us. Because that is what Downton taught us. The music swells gently, violins and piano merging into a single breath of emotion. The final shot, the Abbey from above, majestic against the dawn. A flock of birds rises into the sky, a symbol of freedom. Of continuation, the screen fades to black. And in soft white lettering, Downton Abbey, the grand finale, a farewell from NBC. Thank you for being part of our story. A few seconds of silence follow, intentional, sacred, allowing the audience to feel rather than think. And then, one last line, the narrator's voice calm, smiling. Sure, some stories end, but the best ones live on forever. The screen glows briefly with the NBC logo. The music fades. And Downton Abbey, like all beautiful things, becomes memory, fade-out time travel. Heartbreak and destiny are colliding one last time. In this video, we break down the shocking leaks, spoilers, and rumored endings of Outlander Season 8, final chapter that promises to change everything, from Jamie and Claire's fate, two unexpected character returns, and a leaked ending that ties back to the very first episode. This is the most emotional and mysterious season yet. What secrets are stars hiding? What will become of the Frasers? And who might step through the stones one last time? We dive deep into hidden clues from leaked set photos, shocking twists about Jamie and Claire's final journey, emotional farewells, and heartbreaking theories. The future of Outlander and the upcoming spin-off, Blood of My Blood. Fan reactions and insider rumors you won't hear anywhere else. If you're an Outlander fan, this is your ultimate Season 8 spoiler breakdown crafted for those who crave every detail before the final curtain falls. Don't just watch. Feel the journey, share your theories in the comments. Could this be the ending we've been waiting for? Subscribe for more Outlander leaks, theories, and emotional story breakdowns every week. #OUTLANDER, #OUTLANDER, Season 8 #OUTLANDER, spoilers #Jamie and Claire, #Outlander leaks, #OUTLANDER, final season #OUTLANDER explained, #Outlander 2025, #OUTLANDER, theories, #Blood of My Blood, #STARZ.